Ladies and gentlemen, it pleases me to report to the people of Florida and the nation that the long-sought Cross Florida Barge Canal is now well underway. Construction at both ends of the 107-mile protected inland waterway artery has been progressing for many months. Completion of the canal will tie together the nation's principal waterways from the upland Ohio and Mississippi River Valley to the populous New York City areas into one unified system of great benefit to interstate commerce by connecting 29 states with a total of more than 26,000 miles of inland waterways. When operative, just a few years from now, the canal will situate Florida on the main street of America's inland waterways. Florida will be in the most strategic area on 2,460 miles of connected waterways for barge transport between the eastern seaboard and the mid-continental United States. Simply, it will save 611 miles over the old around the Florida Keys route. Its recreational and flood control potential rivals its economic possibilities. Briefly, the canal will create 285 miles of new shoreline in Florida and approximately 30,000 more acres of surface water behind two dams that's included in the overall construction. This means that countless parks, picnics, and camping areas, and swimming beaches, boat trails, and pools, and fishing grounds, and wildlife and game refuges will be created. I invite you now, on behalf of the state of Florida and its Board of Conservation and the Canal Authority of Florida, to watch a brief, informative film on the amazing Cross Florida Barge Canal.
Engineers have long dreamed of a Cross Florida Canal. The early Spanish considered it almost 400 years ago. Its defense potential. The first United States government study was made over 100 years ago. Ever since, surveys, studies, routes, and recommendations have been made year after year. There was much opposition, for example, to a sea-level ship canal in fear of saltwater intrusion. At long last, all the state and federal agencies involved unanimously agreed upon one route, one plan, a toll-free, lock-type barge canal, higher than sea level. It will flow on top of the water-bearing strata rather than through the strata to sea level. This route is the only one which has an abundance of water unaffected by weather cycles, necessary for maintaining a depth of 12 feet and for raising and lowering barges through the locks. This route also requires the least amount of excavating because it makes maximum use of natural waterways as they occur from Port Ingles on the Gulf to Jacksonville on the St. Johns.
The Division of Geology urges the construction of the barge canal because of its impact on the stabilization and development of our mineral resources. The canal is designed to cross the state at the most advantageous place geologically, elevation-wise and groundwater-wise. It will utilize a series of locks, and the barges will be lifted up by these locks in a series of steps, one located at Ingles, one at Dunellen, and will be floated across the summit area and lowered by a lock at Silver Springs, at Eureka, at St. John's into the St. John's River. We of the construction of the barge canal, and no damage will result to these resources.
The United States has more miles of navigable inland waters than any other country in the world. Most of these waterways lie east of the Rockies, where the Mississippi complex reaches from the plains and Middle West to the Gulf and Texas. The East Coast Waterway extends from New Jersey to Miami and the Keys, 26,000 miles in 29 states. The Cross Florida Barge Canal will be the key link to these two vast systems. According to the Florida Development Commission, a tremendous new industrial belt will rise along the canal, or scarcely tapped because of high shipping costs, will bring new large-scale industries. Barging activity itself will create many new jobs. Communities now along the route will expand dramatically toward the canal. The key is low-cost transportation. Barge shipping costs are 1/2 to 1/4 the cost of other means. To New Jersey, more cheaply than a quart of milk can be delivered the length of Manhattan Island. Steel can be shipped for 1/4 the charges of the next cheapest means. Forest products will move cheaper.
This corn came from Chicago to Tampa for 29 cents per hundredweight. The next cheapest way of bringing this corn to Tampa cost over $1 per hundredweight. Barging means that we no longer have to send Florida livestock to the grain belt for fattening. Rather, we can bring the grain here.
The value of Florida mineral mining is an estimated $221 million annually, only a fraction of the potential. A spectacular mining boom will result as mineral deposits are open for development because of low-cost barge transportation. Lime rock that brings the producer only $1 a ton today for road construction should bring many times this amount when it can be cheaply hauled to processing plants for lime, cement, whiting, paint filler, and other products. And we have 4 trillion tons of it. Dolomite near the canal in Levy and Citrus counties is plentiful and can be exploited in larger quantities for rock wool, glass, and fertilizers. There is a great potential in the soft rock and hard rock phosphate deposits. The nation's largest supply of zircon, strategic titanium ores, and the purest deposit of silica sand will bring premium prices. Structural clay occurs in quantity along the scenic St. Johns River, and Putnam County has 1 million tons of kaolin used in paper manufacturing. Barge transportation is the key to this rich resource development. Barge transportation is more economical because the ease of loading and unloading saves man-hours. Barges cost less to build, less to maintain, and less to operate than any other bulk cargo carriers. And waterways are cheaper to maintain than land routes. The canal is not only an asset to navigation, but it is also a significant flood control asset. Florida has serious flood problems in both the Withlacoochee and Ocklawaha River basins, problems created by bottlenecks at the mouths of those two streams. The canal eliminates these bottlenecks and reduces flood control costs. Florida's abundance of rainfall provides its groundwater supply. The groundwater of South Florida is recharged south of the canal. The water flows outward in all directions from the recharge area. Thus, it flows toward the canal route from the south rather than flowing past the canal into the southern part of the state. It is reasonable to assume that if the canal had been in existence prior to the devastating storms of March 1960, much of the destruction would have been prevented, and flood control could have saved its victims $8 million in damages. At the same time, the canal will create 2 reservoirs, Rodman and Eureka, with extensive recreational areas. The 32 square water in these artificial lakes will make a natural refuge for fish and wildlife. Canal traffic is not limited to barges. All craft of less than 12 feet draft, pleasure boats, sports and commercial fishing vessels, small military craft, and contractors' barges will use this safe, toll-free complex, and providing low-cost bulk freight rates. The canal is also vital to national defense. in merchant shipping to submarines occurred on voyages around Florida. The Cuban crisis and lurking foreign subs brought home once again the urgent need for the Cross Florida Canal. It not only cuts the distance 600 miles, but eliminates this submarine threat. In the interest of our space effort, giant boosters and missiles will be moved safely by barge from the Huntsville Arsenal through the Cross Florida Canal to Cape Kennedy. These loads are too large for other forms of transport. The authorized plan and route of the Cross Florida Canal provides more than adequate width and overhead bridge clearance. Highway traffic need never be stopped for barge traffic below. Completion of the Cross Florida Barge Canal will create such a traffic flow that construction of the other missing links of Florida's waterway system must soon follow, such as the stretch along the Keys and the Carabel to St. Mark's Channel, both already authorized. Soon, too, could the link between St. Mark's past the mouth of the canal at Inglis to Anclote Key. While no waterway exists here now, success of the Cross Florida Canal is not dependent on this. The waters are shallow even far offshore, so that the strength of the Gulf waves are dissipated on the flat beach gradient. These waters today are usable for barge traffic, but are too shallow for submarine operation. The St. John's Indian River Canal would connect Sanford with Port Canaveral at Cape Kennedy on the Atlantic and complete the Florida network. Since the big barges tow at an average speed of only 9 miles per hour, a speed ideal for heavy bulk freight, they are not suited for all commodities. Many Florida products, vegetables and citrus, seafood, poultry, meat and dairy products, and a host of others require faster transportation. For this reason, other type carriers will gain from the increased flow of products. Where barge shipping exists, new industry locates, bringing with it new shippers to other carriers. The federal government is building the canal on state-supplied land. Construction has advanced rapidly since President Johnson touched off the first blast. For all of Florida, the Barge Canal introduces a new era, such as created by the Gulf Coast Canal from Brownsville, Texas to St. Mark's, Florida. The cities along this waterway have surged in growth. Mobile has doubled in population. Corpus Christi nearly tripled, and Lake Charles has become a port equal to Boston. Once the key, the Cross Florida Barge Canal, is complete, Florida will be the canal main street of America. Traffic is heaviest along the middle reaches of waterways, and Florida will be the Florida's existing industries will prosper and expand. New industries will mushroom. There will be thousands of new jobs and new homes. The trade of the nation will funnel into and through this canal crossroad of Florida, making it truly the canal main street of barge commerce for the entire United States.